Hi guys, this is Christine with a Naturally Balanced Dog. Our goal and our focus is to help pet parents resolve allergy symptoms through food and environment testing, as well as fresh food diets and whole food supplements. So allergies, I think the first thing we need to kind of just quickly talk about is allergies versus intolerances and sensitivities. So allergies in itself is actually due to the immune system that is reacting to a substance that it deems harmful versus a sensitivity, which doesn't involve the immune system, but rather it's the body that lacks some form of enzyme or the ability to digest certain foods. And so sensitivities are not life-threatening, whereas in some cases an allergy can be life-threatening, and this is where they have like EpiPens and so forth, for dogs and for people as well. So the symptoms, however, for allergies and sensitivities could look similar as far as symptoms go. So what we want to kind of do is just touch base here on how that affects your dog, how allergies affects your dog mentally, physically, and emotionally, because those are the three bodies that we can identify our dogs having symptoms. However, we don't always notice them. So some of the things that you might notice for a dog that is having allergy symptoms or sensitivity to their food or environment, a dog that is disorientated, maybe they're a little spacey, they can be slow to respond. On the flip side, they can also be very hyperactive, and they can struggle with the ability to learn. And so those sometimes could be really a challenge, particularly if you're, training your dog or trying to communicate with your dog. And so sometimes it could be a little bit on the frustrating side. Whereas the physical condition is usually something that you might see in the skin or the digestive system, such as like hot spots or diarrhea, where the dog can also become malnourished and can become very weak in those states. And so behaviors that might be associated from a physical standpoint would be, the dog scratching and itching themselves or biting. Sometimes they're constantly panting. They can lack concentration or be very unsettled. And so I think people will generally notice the physical before they associate mental or emotional behaviors that the dog is having. And so some of the emotional things that a dog can experience that is experiencing allergies is the dog can be very depressed, very agitated, can have aggression issues, and or even develop fear issues. So those are some signs that your dog may actually be having allergies. And I don't think a lot of pet owners associate behavior with allergies. In fact, pet owners, I think, can become very frustrated with behaviors that their dog is having, which can cause stress to the dog and actually increase additional behaviors based on that stress, and it can become a cycle. And so sometimes I see that with working with families where, one of their areas that they're kind of mentioning is, the dog knows how to do these particular behaviors, but it becomes more selective, or the dog is not listening, or my dog doesn't pay attention to me. And so sometimes those are indicators, not so much that the dog fails the response, but they're struggling mentally or physically and or emotionally due to allergy symptoms. And I don't know if you've ever experienced allergies, but I grew up with allergies, and I do have seasonal allergies during the summers and spring, and I get a little hay fever. And so not only do my eyes get itchy and maybe get like a runny nose and a sore throat, but I tend to have a lot of spaciness, which can be a struggle, particularly when I'm doing, things of this nature, where I'm trying to, deliver information and share some experiences and whatnot. But when you're in a spacey mode, sometimes, you lack the ability to communicate effectively. And so I think that if you've experienced allergies, then you might understand how your animal can be feeling, at the same time. And so with that being said, what do we do about that? And so if you were to take your dog to the veterinarian, most likely your vet is going to prescribe some form of medication, and or maybe they'll suggest Benadryl. And I even had a dog that had some pretty severe allergies, and she received steroid shots and was on low dosages of prednisone, which is not something that you want to do, because ultimately all that is doing is suppressing the symptoms, but it's not fixing the issue. And so doing medication of that sort is a temporary fix for short-term relief. But if your dog is having long-term issues, meaning they're just not like in the spring or during certain times of the season or something, then we want to kind of dig a little bit deeper, because if the dog is having these issues all year round, then we kind of want to get to the bottom of it, because we certainly don't want to have our dog with allergy symptoms, throughout their life. And I don't know, but I've had this, and just learning through my own experiences with multiple dogs that have had allergy issues, it can become quite frustrating and very difficult to watch when your dog is suffering from allergy symptoms. And so I have learned in my experience, some of the things that I hope to be able to share with other pet parents. And one of the reasons that I developed a naturally balanced dog to help pet parents was through lessons of life and working with dogs with allergies, not only of my own, but also with other pet parents and clients and so forth. And so anyways, again, so we kind of want to dig a little bit deeper and get to the bottom of it. And so the first thing I think that is important, one of the things that I did is I started researching. And so that is a recommendation, is just to start doing some research on your own as to what is going on with your dog. In my opinion, irregardless if your dog is experiencing environmental or food allergies, I kind of start with the same protocol. I believe that knowledge is king. And so the first step that I would take is to get your dog tested. And so I think you would want to kind of know, what is it that you're dealing with? Is it food sensitivities, and or is it environmental, and how the results of those tests are going to help you to move forward in your next steps. And so some of the options that are out there, I feel are very unreliable. Again, some of the testing options like blood work and stuff, which is what might be recommended, is not reliable results. And so the two things that I have found to be more accurate is doing a food elimination diet. That's kind of one of the things that I think across the board, whether it's dogs and or humans, food elimination diets are usually one of the things that is going to give you those indicators for food. However, the reality is, when it comes to food elimination diets, one, it can be very time consuming, and two, it can be very costly. And so If you are interested in doing a food elimination diet, I offer on the website, off of the Naturally Balanced Dog website, a free package for you, which includes a video on how to do the food elimination diet. In addition, there are journaling pages so that you can track and evaluate your dog's condition as you're testing each of the foods. There's an ebook on how to resolve food allergies. There's food suggestion sheets and so forth. So it's a package that I put together for pet parents that would like to go that route at no charge. So it's free on the website. All you need to do is just kind of go in there and click the button, and it'll take you to a checkout page. And it's a free item, but it's the only way I was able to bundle it all together for you based on the ability of my website. And so to go a little bit on a quicker route than the food elimination diet, and I think it's the better route, is we offer the Whole Pet Wellness Panel, which is through bioresonance technology, which measures energetically through the hair follicles. And there are other companies that are out there that do that as well, such as like Glacier Peak or 5 Strands. So you may have heard of those. All 3 of those, Glacier Peak, 5 Strands, and the Whole Pet Wellness Panel, are all based on the same technology. I feel that I have bundled that product to be a whole perspective. So it gives you your food and environment, as well as a heavy metal and mineral, and a nutritional panel. And so it gives you a very good scenario as to what is going on with your dog from that health perspective, whereas the other ones may offer some of those other options, but at a additional fee. You know, you have to order their kit or register online, and so my the Whole Pet Panel is much quicker. You don't have to wait for snail mail and so forth. So, but anyways, and so the other piece is you want to, after you're getting tested or during the test, or maybe you bypass the test, then the first step that I would be taking is to remove your dog off of processed inflammatory foods. And you would actually be surprised how many dogs have sensitivities to preservatives and additives. And interestingly, one of the things that I identify in a lot of the results that I review with some of my clients is the fish product. And there's often fish oils that are in processed foods, such as salmon oil. And the other one that I notice is the vitamin E, which again, it's usually one of those 2 oils that you see in your processed food. But interestingly, I also find it to be one of the items that dogs are often sensitive to. And so getting a fresh food diet and adding ingredients that can support your dog's situation is the better route. At least that's what I believe. Food is medicine. And, you know, through food, you can do things like help your dog to detoxify. And so if you're adding things like green leafy foods, green leafy vegetables into your dog's food, green leafy vegetables such as dandelion, Swiss chard, kale, and spinach, those all help the body to detoxify and get rid of the allergens that are floating around in the body that are causing these issues. And you want to mix your green leafy and do like an every other day or every couple of days with blue and red berries or blue and red foods, which are your antioxidants. So green leafy vegetables help to detoxify, and your red and your blue fruits and vegetables are going to deliver your antioxidants. The other part that we want to kind of look into as you're building your dog's fresh diet is the goal is to rebuild and repair. And so we want to add foods that are going to support your dog's gut, that support the immune system, the microbiome, including the vagus nerve, which communicates from the stomach into the brain. And so if the stomach is having irritable bowel issues or leaky gut issues due to allergens, that is definitely going to affect how your dog mentally processes information, as we mentioned earlier, how they're going to process information both mentally and emotionally. And so we want to add foods that are going to support the body and aid into its ability to repair. So foods other than the leafy green vegetables and your red and blue berries or red and blue vegetables, you also want to consider adding foods that are going to be high in enzymes. And so enzymes help to break down histone in the body. They build new cells and they help to repair the damaged areas. Enzymes are essential for managing weakened immune systems. And so enzymes you can find in like bromelain and the enzymes that we are often familiar with is bromelain, which is found in pineapple and or papaya. The important piece here, though, is if you have a dog that has allergies, you don't want to add your enzymes at the same time as your meals. And that's because if you're adding enzymes, then what happens at the time of a meal, then what happens is all of the enzymes run into the gut and they're busy doing the digestive, and then the enzymes die out, and then it doesn't have any additional enzymes to work in the other areas. So when you're utilizing enzymes for allergies and or even things like inflammatory issues, arthritis, things of that nature, you will want to add your enzymes when it is not at mealtime. And so you can do that a couple of different ways by either creating treats for your dog that might have pineapple and papaya in it, and or doing some other foods such as, again, often it will be your citrus fruits. Sorry about that. I kind of got hung up there for a minute. The other one that you want to consider is probiotics, because certainly probiotics can have a positive effect on histone intolerances by upregulating anti-inflammatory and downregulating histone receptors in the body. And so the particular probiotic that you would be looking at is the Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. And so that gives you the strand. So a lot of times when you're looking at probiotics, it doesn't give you the strand. It'll give you the name, but it doesn't always give you all of the information to find the specific strand that is going to be beneficial. So for allergies, it would be the Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. And so I did find a brand off of Google called Restore Biotics. And I think that they sold it for something like $34 or something like that. So it had that particular strand that you can add into your dog's food. The other thing that you might consider are foods that are going to be high in vitamin C. And so vitamin C is a natural antihistamine, which are found often in your tropical fruits, citrus, as well as broccoli, cauliflower, and berries. And so some of the other things that I recommend, because, the reality is you can only add so much into your dog's food before you're overfeeding them or giving them too much sugar, even though it's natural sugars based on those fruits and things like that. Then in those cases, I usually would recommend whole food supplements. I recommend whole food supplements versus isolates or the laboratory created. And you can generally tell a whole food supplement based on when you look at the ingredients, it's going to say things like beets, wheatgrass, spinach, broccoli, as opposed to vitamin B, folic acid, 350 milligrams. Then you know that that is probably going to be a laboratory created vitamin, and I don't really support that because I do believe in whole foods are easier for the body to assimilate and to be able to use. And so I use brands like Garden of Life, which is a human vitamin. We also carry on our website Super Phyto Foods, which are whole foods. We have a Super Phyto Zyme, which is good for adding enzymes into, again, your dog's meal, and or you could take them and add scoops into if you're making, you know, some kind of treats for your dogs. The other things we have to help with allergies is Super Phyto Greens, which help with the detoxification, which is an important piece to helping your dog to alleviate the symptoms from allergies. And so the other piece is, you know, when you're looking at your vitamins to add to yours and or your dog's diet, vitamins usually give you the recommended amount based on if there was nothing going on with your body that needs to be repaired. So, for example, maybe you take 500 milligrams of vitamin C every day, but when you get a flu or a cold, you might up your vitamin C to 1,000 or 1,500 milligrams per day. So you actually end up increasing to help the body to restore and repair itself during that time of crisis. In the same sense, this is where, you know, whole foods supplements work beneficially because you can't overdose on those, and you can increase the supplementation and the percentage of those particular vitamins to help your dog alleviate symptoms. And with that being said, you should probably work with your veterinarian in order to figure out exactly what is the dosage that you can go without it becoming dangerous. And so again, you know, when I look at things like vitamin A can be, you know, toxic for dogs, and if you get to a certain point. So again, you'll probably want to work with your veterinarian as to what is the percentage of the vitamins that you can give your dog. And so anyways, these are some areas that you can improve in helping your dog to alleviate their symptoms, to help them restore balance in their body, and it also helps to regulate their behaviors. And so once you can kind of get some control over your dog's symptoms, a lot of times you'll begin to see behavior issues dissipating and hopefully stabilizing. The other piece to that is we kind of talked about food as a sensitivity, but we didn't really touch base on environmental sensitivity. So if your dog is struggling all year round, and I think that that's one of the fallacies that I often hear where people say, if you notice symptoms just during the spring, then most likely it's environmental. But if it's all year round, then it's usually diet. But the reality is environmental can be in your home all year round as well. And so again, based on some of the tests that, as I review the tests, one of the things that I find very interesting, because you begin to see some things that are common denominators in a lot of dogs, is dust mites. And so dust mites, I mean, we all have dust in our house, right? I mean, it's just, you know, we try to keep it clean, but the reality is you turn your air conditioner on, or you turn your heater on, there's dust in the vents, it blows out into the environment, and it just kind of creates, and even though you have filtration system maybe or filters on your furnace, it still eventually can be very dusty. So some of the things that you could do to help from an environmental standpoint, it's good for your health as well as your dog's health, is have your ventilation system and your vents cleaned out every couple of years. It's amazing the amount of dust that they pull out of your vents. The other thing is to keep your dog's area clean. You know, try to keep their bedding clean, keep it vacuumed, keep their area, you know, dusted and so forth. And utilize things that are going to be fragrant-free, non-chemical, hypoallergenic cleaners and laundry detergents. Another thing that you can consider is adding an air purifier into a room that your dog is normally in, and or you, if you're experiencing allergies as well, air purifier in a particular room. And interestingly, one of the things that I found was burning beeswax candles. And so consider burning candles in your plug-ins to be having fragrance and very toxic for your dogs, which can agitate the inflammation as well as agitate your dog's allergy symptoms. And so if you like burning candles, consider beeswax candles, because what beeswax candles do is when you burn them, it actually changes the ozone or the energetic, shoot, the word is not coming to mind at the moment. It changes the negative ions in the air. And so the particles that are floating in the air that cause allergens, by burning the beeswax, it actually neutralizes that, and all those particles fall to the floor and they're not floating around in your environment where you're breathing. And so burning beeswax can be very beneficial for allergies. The other thing that you can consider is a filtration system or filtered water, because water has a lot of contaminants in it as well. And so by doing this, by creating a more allergy-free diet, you can, again, utilize the food elimination diet, and or you can consider doing the hair analysis. And from there, you want to be able to add food to your dog's diet that is non-processed and does not have the additives and preservatives in it. And then you can add foods that are going to support your dog's systems, like helping them to detoxify, adding the antioxidants, adding foods that increase vitamin C or enzymes. And then certainly keeping the environment clean. All of these things are going to be beneficial into helping to alleviate the symptoms for your dog, and in exchange helping your dogs with their behaviors that they're exhibiting, as I mentioned, which can be sometimes very frustrating. And as I mentioned, one of the things that I think that people really don't put together is how your dog behaves and how allergies can affect those behaviors. And so I hope that gives you some key factors as to things that you can do. Again, my name is Christine with the Naturally Balanced Dog. If you are on YouTube, we certainly would appreciate if you give us a like and a subscribe to our channel. We come on every Wednesday at 5:45 Central Standard Time with topics. We have guests that come on and talk about things, as well as I add recipes on the YouTube channel that you can go back and take a look at how to create treats for your dog and or how to build a fresh food diet. And or certainly you could visit the website, which will give you all of those indicators as well. So you can get the food and environment whole pet wellness panel, as well as raw food and or cooked homemade recipes and supportive supplements for your dog. So you guys have a great evening, and then we'll be talking to you again next week. Thanks again for joining. Have a great evening. Bye-bye now.